Stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner meeting February 12th, 2018, and with me today to my left is Commissioner Jeff Benton, and to my right is Vice President Barb Lewis, Commissioner Barb Lewis, and Walter Opens, our clerk today, and Mike Fromer, our administrator, is with us as well. I'd like to start the meeting to just comment about the events that occurred Saturday in Westerville. Officer Anthony Morelli, age 54, 29-year veteran of Westerville Police Department, husband and father of two. Officer Eric Joring, age 39, a 16-year veteran of the Westerville Police Department, husband and father to four daughters. I would ask, I'll ask for comment from my fellow commissioners, but before that I would just ask for a moment of silence. If you lower your head and think about the families here in our county. Father, bless these families, protect them, and help them through this very difficult time. Amen. With that, I'll open this up for any comments from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Lewis.
Just such a tragedy, such a tragedy. It just, every time I think about them and then their families, it just makes me so very sad. And I know I've been praying for them and the families, as all of you have too. And we are reaching out to the city of Westerville. And I know that, of course, our first responders, our 911 staff has been helping too. So anything we can do. Anything we can do.
Yeah, you just, it's beyond words what you could say to describe just how awful this thing is. The families, I'm sure, are just hurting terribly and will be for a long time. The Westerville community, the police force. It's just a terrible tragedy, and we gotta pull together and move on. The police, the safety forces in general, do such an outstanding job, knowing that there are risks, and occasionally terrible things happen. And this is one of those occasions. But I want to recognize the peace officers that do keep us safe, and all the other first responders. I know we'll probably hear from Chief Schuling, because I know our first responders went to the scene, and I guess it was very, very tough for them. That's what I've heard, and I'm sure that'll stay with them as well. It's a tribute to them, the 911 folks who took the calls, and so on. So again, terrible tragedy, and our hearts just go out to those families and people affected by it. So
there's really not words to describe, I think, how we all feel. Those two officers got up that morning to go to work, expecting to come home to their families that evening. And their kids, their children, their spouses are going through a very tough time. And I know I happened to see Patrick earlier that day, hour or two before the event and occurred, or at least before we became aware of it. And I know the role that EMS played in this, and our sheriff. I spoke to our sheriff Saturday afternoon briefly, and I know that everybody in this county will do whatever they can to be of assistance. Although this event occurred in Franklin County, Westerville also shares part of Delaware County. We consider it just as much our loss, regardless of where it occurred. And again, I can't say it strong enough. The prayers and anything we can do as a county, we'll be willing to do it whenever appropriate. With that, I don't know what else to do, except I guess we need to move forward on the agenda.
Resolution number 18-133, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held February 8th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Benton. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-133. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that brings us to item number 4, and a tribute for Don E. Fisher.
We have today a tribute for somebody, Don Fisher, who I had the privilege of meeting about, I'm going to say roughly 2.5 years ago, when we had some questions about the issues, not that important this time, but sharing some history that he had that was not available to us through other sources, him having been a commissioner and later an administrator in the 70s and 80s. And I thoroughly enjoyed that hour and a half, 2 hours of what Pauline brought him to Bob Evans, where we spoke and had a delightful conversation with somebody that I really enjoyed talking to, and I believe Commissioner Benton may have spoken to him later day after he became aboard. With that, I'm going to read the proclamation I have with me here, and then I'm going to turn over to the commissioners for comment. And perhaps first we ought to introduce the family members that are here. Jim, would you like to introduce the people here? It's Jim Fisher.
My name is Jim Fisher. I'm the youngest son. My mother, Pauline. His granddaughter, Melanie Dunlap. Pickett, sorry. My uncle, Richard, would be my father's brother. My sister, Diana. And her husband, Michael.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us today. This is an honor for us. It's something that we wanted to do, and but we wanted to do it when the family members could be here. And with that, I'm going to read the tribute. Be it hereby known to all that Jeff Benton, Gary Merrill, and Barb Lewis, Commissioners of Delaware County, wish to express their gratitude and admiration for Don E. Fisher. We honor Don upon his passing for his decades of public service to the residents of Delaware County. He served as county commissioner for 2 terms from 1967 to 1975, and uniquely also as the first county administrator from 1977 to 1987. Don was instrumental in establishing Delaware County Emergency Medical Services and in working diligently on the board of directors for the Delco Water Company. Among the many efforts he was involved in, which today impact the lives of hundreds of thousands of Delaware County residents and visitors, were the development of Alum Creek, the county sewer district and jail, the regional solid waste district, the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, 4-H Council, Delaware Area Chamber of Commerce, Delaware Rotary Club, and the Hyatt United Methodist Church. Commissioner Benton, Commissioner Merrill, and Commissioner Lewis mourned the passing of such a great public servant, but also expressed their gratitude for the legacy and lessons of civic achievement that Don E. Fisher generously has left us all. And again, I restate what I said. I really enjoyed the opportunity to meet with him, and it was a wonderful communication we had for that brief time, and I grew to admire him. The work he's done is stated here, as well as his still commitment to this great county that he lived in. Before I ask the 2 commissioners to respond, we have a commissioner that knew him pretty well. Don, do you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. The first thing I'll tell you, it's a lot easier being on this side of that bench than that side. But no, I knew Don, always respected, a very nice person, very easy to work with. My years on city council and as mayor, preceding my commissioner time, dealing with him, we always had a good relationship, and a really super person. You've laid out all of the, or a number of the things that he was very instrumental in that are so important to us today. You know, when it came, the funeral homes could no longer provide ambulance service. What are we going to do? But they stepped up and have the fine service that we have here today is the sewer and Delco water and the whole works. And I guess a good thing for me is in the last 2 or 3 years before Don went into Sarah Moore, He and I would be at the Y at about the same time in the morning, a little after 7, and we'd sit side by side on the recumbent bikes riding and visiting. And Don was an encyclopedia of Delaware County and what has happened here. So I'm really pleased that you're giving this honor. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
Well, Don embodied the best of Delaware County. And although I did not have the pleasure of knowing him well personally, is there anything that he didn't do as commissioner and then after his service? And I just want to reach out and thank the family too for being here and allowing us to have this tribute. What a wonderful example he has shown for Delaware County.
Commissioner Benton.
Yeah, I did not know Don. I had a fairly brief conversation with him when I was learning about the EMS structure, because he was involved in the founding of the EMS, and I didn't know that he was involved in so many other things, which are pretty remarkable, because the things he was involved with are really important strategic things, initiatives that make Delaware County as successful as it is. I mean, the EMS, the Delco Water. If we didn't have Delco Water, we wouldn't be the county we are today. The jail, the sewer district. If we didn't have the sewer district, we wouldn't be anywhere. We'd be a shadow of what we are today, in terms of the county. And he was right in the middle of all those things, getting those things going and making them successful and making Delaware County successful. I just didn't know he had been involved in so many different things that are so important to Delaware County. And then he was our first administrator, which again is a big step forward for a county, to actually adopt an administrator structure, and that's worked very well. So again, a real visionary as well as a successful leader. So. Again, it's great to have the family here, and I welcome you all, and we all miss your father and husband and relative, but it's nice that we're able to pay this tribute to him.
I have one last comment, and we'll get a photo. One of the things I say frequently is we as commissioners we're judged 10, 15 years after we leave these positions, and people look back and what kind of job we did, and we always want to look back and say, a job well done. Well, I can say, Don Fisher, job well done. With that, let's, with the family, we'd like to get a photograph.
I noticed Eric's here. He's standing. Eric. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, good. Okay.
He's here for the morning.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay.
With that, just proceed.
Okay. Resolution number 18-134, in the matter of approving purchase orders and announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0209.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Benton, second by Commissioner Lewis. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-134. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-135, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Benton, Lewis, second by Commissioner Benton. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-135. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Item number 7, Commissioner Lewis is going to recuse herself from. Resolution number 18-136, in the matter of allowing an application to amend the petition for the Kingston Township number 2017-1 drainage improvement petition filed by Mary Beth Mullick and others.
So moved.
Second. Discussion, but before, I'd just like to say the reason Commissioner, she recused herself and she left this area just so she would be part of the discussion if anyone's questioning or wondering why. With that, discussion? I have no question.
No?
Vote on motion 18-136. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number, that brings us to item number 8. You can come back. Resolution number 18-137, in the matter of scheduling a joint Delaware County, Delaware City session for 7 p.m. on Thursday, February 15th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. The only thing I'd like to say is I look back at my records. We last did this about 2.5 years ago, and it's something that historically we've done, if not annually, at least every couple of years. And with that, vote.
Vote on motion 18-137. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-138, in the matter of Delaware County Board of Commissioners declaring an exception to Resolution number 0904, allowing for the live streaming of Commissioner sessions for the Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-138. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-139, in the matter of approving a service agreement between Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Train U.S. Incorporated for the Delaware County Hayes Building Controls upgrade.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. This agreement with Train is to upgrade the building controls for the HVAC system at the Hayes Building. Last summer, we rebuilt the air handler units on the rooftops. This is the controls for the building that ties those together, along with all the sensors in the building, the EV boxes. The system is about 16 years old, and we're having problems. We're getting failures in some of the boards, and it's time to upgrade. This is something we did budget for.
You knew that question was going to be asked, didn't you? Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-139. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-140, in the matter of declaring personal property obsolete, unfit, or not needed for public use, and the intent of selling such property via internet auction or disposal of property of no value.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag with the Regional Sewer District. This equipment is some old MCC panels that we had at the district that are no longer in service and no longer needed. The useful life has been expelled by those units, and the value is probably pretty minimal.
Question, discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-140. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-141, in the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for Liberty Bluff, Section 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
This is a subdivision off of State Route 315, the first phase of that. The sewers have been installed and have met all of our requirements.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-141. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-142, in the matter of approving a services agreement with Air Force One Incorporated for black flow services and planned maintenance services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
This contract is for annual backflow inspections as well as preventative maintenance on all of our HVAC systems that require a compressor. The reason for that is because there's Freon in those compressors, and we don't have the staff licensure to be able to handle that Freon in-house. The current contract that we're authorizing is just over $12,000. We have another $25,000 on that contract for repairs if needed this year. We actually spent over $72,000 with Air Force One last year, and we've made a big push to do a lot of these services in-house. That's why you see the major reduction in that cost for next year.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, no more questions or discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-142. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-143, in the matter of awarding a bid for engineering materials for 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. Each year we bid out several different road maintenance services for use by our county crews as well as township maintenance officials throughout the year. These two contracts involve tree clearing and sidewalk and curb construction. We received 2 bids for each contract. We are recommending a multiple awards, basically a non-exclusive award to all of the responsive bidders for each of these contracts. In that way, we can first go to the lowest bidder. If for any reason they can't fill that order or can't complete that order, we can then go to the next bidder in that event. So again, because we don't know when or where we'll necessarily be using these services, it's helpful to have all of the bidders available to do that work.
Question, Rob, with this, I know a few years ago when Genoa redid some sidewalks, I believe that they did it themselves, but then sometimes you might, in certain townships or cities, do it?
Yeah, these contracts are available to the townships. Some of the townships choose to do the work with their own crews. The townships that are able to, other townships prefer to contract this work. So it just depends on each agency. We at our office, we don't have that much curb and gutter and sidewalk on our county highway system. Generally, we're all mostly open ditch. So we don't do a lot of it, but we do some, and so it's nice to have this available.
Okay, thanks.
Any discussion, questions, additional? Vote?
Vote on motion 1A-143. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-144, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for South Old State Road and Sunbury Road improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
We are asking for your approval of this supplemental appropriation for these two projects. This is really not new expenses. Rather, these were bills that we expected to pay at the end of 2017, but carried over because we needed some additional documentation for those before we paid those. So we did not have the appropriation set for this year because, again, we expected to pay these last year. But so that's the explanation on this.
How's the South Old State project coming?
Coming along, haven't been able to get any work done for the last couple of months, but we'll hopefully be starting back up in about a month, and still scheduled for completion in October. We're going to have to push hard to make that completion. We had hoped to get at least a little bit of work done this winter. It just hasn't happened with the weather, so but I think we'll make it this fall.
Other questions, discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 1A-144. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-145, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
We had just one right-of-way work permit application. We reviewed the proposed work and recommend approval.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 18-145. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-146, in the matter of approving a ditch maintenance petitions and the ditch maintenance assessments for North Star Family Dental and North Lake Woods Sections 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
These are two of our standard development-related drainage maintenance petitions. The North Star Family Dental is located on Graphics Way in Orange Township, and North Lake Woods is located off of Four Winds Drive in Berkshire Township, and that includes 90 new lots in that subdivision.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 18-146. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
With that, we have one order of new business, and I'd like to just make a comment, and then I'll seek the direction of my fellow commissioners. I am fully supportive of Ohio Wesleyan and their entrepreneurial center. The concern that I have, and I stated this last week in our conversations with our economic development director, was that it's sunset after 5 years, and technically the verbiage probably says that that's true, but I'd like it stated more strongly than it is, so there's no question or doubt. It may be the same three commissioners sitting here, it may be some hybrid of these three of us, or it could be three new ones. And I just, rather than maybe appearing routine, I think about this contract expiring without question after 5 years allows for a serious reevaluation that I'm not sure would occur under the current setting. That's my opinion. It would be my suggestion that we not discuss this today, and we ask Eric to review it and perhaps adjust to that concern if there's no objection from my fellow board members. With that.
I understand Commissioner Merrill's concerns. I guess where I would be at this point is I would be okay with moving forward on it. It does it brings in a whole bunch of safeguards for the county. We annually appropriate the money, the funding. We have a number of ways that we can exit the commitment if we deem it's not going well or it's not meeting its performance objectives and so on. And it is a 5-year agreement, so I guess I'm at the point where I would just say I would support going ahead and voting on it because this thing has lingered for a while, as it is, and I think the point Commissioner Merrill is raising is a good point, but I think I personally feel we're okay moving forward with it as it is. So,
I'd like to hear from Eric, our county prosecutor, assistant county prosecutor.
That's an important,
I mean, that's
important part
I
is the
guess
assistant.
you're right. It is. Carol might not appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. All I will say is that if you look at Section 2 of the agreement, it does provide for an initial term of 5 years, and then the second sentence is subject to the mutual agreement of the parties by written notice to each other. You can do the extensions. So what I understand the proposal would be, if you wish to have this revised, would be to simply have a 5-year term, and there would be no renewal language in it. And so then if the parties did want to continue it, there would have to be a new agreement for the once the 5-year period is ended. It doesn't make any legal difference. It would just be a different way of handling the future. One is you would address it in the agreement as it is, or you would just leave it out and have it be a strict 5-year period. That's a decision for you to make as a board. It doesn't make any difference from my end of things. I've approved the current version as to form. If I were to make the changes, I would approve that as to form as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but it really is a decision for the board to make.
I'm all right with moving ahead, so we can vote.
Resolution number 18-148, or 147, sorry. 147, in the matter of approving the joint venture agreement among the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the City of Delaware, Ohio, and Ohio Wesleyan University to establish, fund, and manage an entrepreneurial center.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. I'll just reiterate the concern that I have that I don't think it states it strongly enough, and I'm concerned that the future board might see more routine than it should be, and I think that's the value in doing it the way I suggested. Bob, you have a comment?
Happy to answer any, Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director. Happy to answer any questions. Before you is a request for a joint agreement with both the City of Delaware and Ohio Wesleyan University to form an entrepreneurial center. The hope is that this partnership will help spur new investment within the county and provide a location for entrepreneurs within the county to be able to secure services that will help them launch their business and take it the next step forward.
I understand I have nothing against the agreement or the intent of the agreement. It's just simply how it's framed. So,
I'd just like to comment. I think this is a very important strategic initiative that, as we were talking about with former Commissioner Fisher, and looking down the road, you were commenting 5 to 10 years from now, I think this is one of those things that very well could play a very important role in 10 years, 20 years from now, when this this Entrepreneur Center becomes a generator of new businesses and creator of really good jobs with the target industries they're focusing on. So I think this is a really important strategic initiative that really could pay off in the long run for economic development for the county, the city, and so on. So I wholeheartedly support it.
I agree, establishing an entrepreneurial center, and I like the fact that we're partnering with the City of Delaware and also Ohio Wesleyan. And I think it's a win-win, and about time that we set it up and got it moving.
Yeah, many other communities, cities, counties, et cetera, have already established these, so we're a little late getting into this, but nevertheless, it is a good step forward. And Ohio Wesleyan has a great history of entrepreneurism. They're one of the top-rated entrepreneur schools in the country. So this is just a really good strategic fit with them as well. So again, I'm very excited about this.
Okay, with that, vote.
Vote on motion 18-147. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
I wish I was in a position I could vote yes. I won't vote no, I'll just abstain, but I would, if it had been brought back in a different form, I would have said yes, so just make that clear, but today I'm abstaining.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 18 and our administrator reports.
Morning, Commissioners. I just have one kind of administrative thing. Or housekeeping thing. We were notified by the Ohio Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They're jointly doing a gypsy moth spraying program, and it's going to be in the month of June in Delaware County. And I sent them a letter acknowledging that we'd been informed and providing the consent they requested to do that treatment. So anyway, I just wanted to bring you, apprise you of that. And in June, it's going to be, and it's AI's aerial spraying is going to be doing it in the month of June. So, okay.
So,
That's all I have.
Mr. Lewis?
Well, actually, I'll comment on that because I've had gypsy moth spraying in our neighborhood. Gypsy moths can really tear apart a lot of trees, and we had an infestation of oaks and other trees a few years ago. And so the Ohio Department of Agriculture came in and sprayed, and it's a great program. So, and it saved a lot of trees. So I'm glad that they notified us, but I hope everyone takes advantage of it when if they need to. And that's all I have.
Mr. Benton?
One thing I did want to, I got a few things, but one thing I did want to mention is that Bud Ranneberger passed away last week. And I didn't know him before last year, but he was the award winner of the Central Ohio Council on Aging's Hall of Fame last year, the ceremony that I went to. And I got to meet Bud at the ceremony. He 81. He passed away last week, and he, again, reading through, I didn't know some of these things. He was involved in a lot of things in Delaware County, like so many other people. Just a really good citizen, and did a lot of work, in particular for the Council for Oil Source Point. And again, sorry to lose him. He was a big part of the Delaware community, and so I just want to recognize Bud and wish his family best through this difficult time for them. But again, it was great that we were able to honor him last year, and induct him. I know he really enjoyed it. It was really a neat honor.
And I believe he was the nominee from Source Point.
Yes, he was. Just a few other things, little things. We've got a DKMM meeting here tomorrow in our commissioners, or in our meeting room here in the commissioners building. A lot going on at DKMM, so it'll be interesting to see how the progress, how things are progressing there. We have a joint city-county meeting Thursday evening, I think at 7 o'clock, and topics are still being worked on, but that should be an interesting meeting, as Commissioner Merrill mentioned. We got Bishop Backer's Day Saturday, which is a good community Ohio Wesleyan joint activity. There's all kinds of games and activities going on that day. It's just a neat day for the community and Wesleyan to have fun together. And I guess lastly, I just want to mention that Ohio State over the weekend, or last week, beat the number 3 team in the country and is now in first place by itself in basketball. And so now Ohio State has beaten the number 1 of the number 3 teams in the country. So I didn't know if any Sooner fans wanted to comment on that.
I wish the best for Ohio State.
Okay, well, thank you, because they're going up and the Sooners are not. So
Well, we have had some tough sledding here lately.
all right, so that's all I got.
The couple things, Commissioner Benton mentioned that DKM, we also have executive session with DKM tomorrow. That's at 12:30, preceding the 1:30 meeting. And tomorrow evening, there's a legislative meeting from CCAO. I don't know if you two are going to be able to attend that or not.
I'm not sure at this point.
I know that they're going to have a good representation, and I plan on being there. And I don't want to say too much because it's still in the development stages, but I did meet with Bob Horrock from Source Point last week and Don from Veterans Services regarding the Veterans Breakfast, and I do believe progress is being made towards a constructive solution that will benefit our veterans, and it's all about our veterans and taking care of them, and my congratulations for all the other parties that are involved in making that happen this year. And with that, I don't believe I have anything else. I think we do need executive session.
Resolution number 18-148, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, promotion, compensation of a public employer, public official, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, for pending or imminent litigation, for collective bargaining, and confidential information relating to economic development.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-148. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
With that, we are now in executive session.
Resolution number 18-149, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-149. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. With that, we are now adjourned.
Recess into our,
My apologies.
Yes.
Can I ask you that out?
yeah, sure.
Recessed.
We'll just,
We were recessing until 1:30, and we're meeting at South Reserve Section 1 Drainage Maintenance Improvement Petition.
yes.
We'll be meeting here at 1:30 to continue our meeting today.
Yours.
Thank you.
Is that